Radio Rahim with George Groves, one of my favorite people to talk to on this side of the pond. Always a pleasure at the big fights with you. I gotta ask because I just did Jake Paul and Tommy Fury in Saudi, and Carl Froch has made so much noise about possibly fighting Jake Paul. You think Carl beats Jake?
It'd be a tough fight for him. I think Jake's just getting better and better with fight after fight, and I'm not sure if Carl's got it in him anymore. You know, he's that glint in his eye that he used to have, that killer instinct. I don't see it. Last time I saw him was a couple of days ago, and he keeps getting the guitar out radio, and he's serenaded me with Ricky Gervais's Lady Gypsy or Gypsy Lady, and it was phenomenal. And at that moment, I thought, I think the fight's left you, Carl, and I don't think you should be calling out Jake Paul. In the next breath, he said he wants to fight Conor McGregor in the cage. So, never write Carl Froch off at your peril, I'd say.
You think he's got a better shot at that fight?
Maybe. I think he's up for fighting anyone and everyone. I still haven't caught up on the boxing from Saudi in terms of Paul and Tommy, but I kind of like that. I kind of like the mystery of it, to be honest. So I'll take a punt on whether Cole beats him or not. I'm not sure.
Well, tonight we'll see these guys weigh in, and then come Saturday night at the O2, we'll see what they call the new dawn for either Anthony Joshua or Jermaine Franklin, truly. What do you think the improvements or the new Joshua will be seen on Saturday, being with a new trainer and a new chapter in his career?
Yeah, I think he wants to come. I mean, how much you'll see, it's hard to tell because, you know, they haven't spent an awful lot of time together, and it is hard to put it all together on fight night when there's, you know, under the spotlights. I can see him winning well against Franklin. I think Franklin's obviously a very good fighter, but not enough to really trouble Joshua. And I think Joshua will be in a spiteful frame of mind. I think what he missed for a huge amount of his career, and it's no slight on Rob McCracken, who is an experienced pro coach, but Joshua came from, you know, started boxing late really compared to some, had his tremendous success in the Olympic Games, and then stayed in the amateur gym really, but he worked under Rob McCracken in the amateur gym training alongside Olympians, and sometimes it's hard to really put a finger on what you get from being in the pro gym, working around pro coaches who only work exclusively with pro fighters. But, you know, you get that sort of that old school know-how, and even us Brits over here in the UK, we don't really get that what you can get growing up if you're growing up in a Kronk gym or in a Gleason's gym or in them sort of them old school gyms that just they've got the know-how. It's much more ruthless, I think, out in the States, and therefore you got to have your wits about you, and you're a bit more of a sponge and absorb a bit more. So I think, yeah, him getting out to the States now, he's always been a technically sound fighter, Joshua. He punches correctly, you know. You couldn't pinpoint any of his artillery that's not great, and for me it's always just a little bit that he's found lacking was the flow in between shots, just having that old school pro know-how. He's changed trainer now for another time, but it is out in the gym in the States with Derek James, you know, alongside, you know, Charlo, and alongside oh Jesus, there you go. My brain's gone now.
Spence.
And Spence, that's the one. And I don't know if they've been in the gym with him, but there's going to be those guys, and I'm sure a bunch of other young, ambitious, dogged pros that, you know, they're looking at Joshua going, I see through you. You know, they're going to keep him on his toes. So I think the more of a well-rounded, accomplished pro that he becomes from his work in the gym, make him an even more seasoned fighter on night, even though he's been involved in big fights, you know, but this is him coming back from real adversity this time. This is him not getting, you know, the instant rematch, you know, for his world title belt. Now it's not a world title fight. He's got to win well, otherwise he does get forgotten about. He doesn't, but in his eyes, he does, you know?
Right. Well, another Brit that has spent plenty of time over in the American boxing scene is Tyson Fury. We thought we'd probably be trying to talk about the matchup between Fury and Usyk, that fight should certainly be made by now. Clearly it hasn't. Why do you reckon we don't have that fight on the slate?
It seemed like an impossible time frame, in my opinion, to get it. They had this date of April, the end of April, to sort of to get it over the line. But you want to get your head in the game. You want to fight signed, sealed, so that you can get into camp, really concentrate on the guy in front of you. Even if it's tricking along and you think it's going to happen, it's really hard to get your game face on in the gym until it is signed and sealed. And then you want at least 8-10 weeks, I feel, to prepare for someone. So when you're creeping into 4 or 5 weeks before it's even signed, seems like it was never going to happen to me. Maybe this fight takes place at the end of the year and somehow they manage to hold all their belts without having to mandatories thrown at them or whatnot, or having to vacate for mandatories. But although you tell me.
I mean, you've had your share of, huge fights to get made, rematches and whatnot. I'm just saying, negotiation-wise, do you have any thoughts on how this thing broke down?
Yeah, I mean, maybe one fighter priced themselves out of it. Maybe they both got their fingers crossed that they can hold on to all the belts and time it out and do it in Saudi in November, And then, earn an awful lot more money. And if they can do that, then maybe they'll do that. Joshua's had his big fight here in the UK. Fury's had his big fight here in the UK against Dillian White now, so maybe he doesn't crave that big homecoming fight. Maybe he'll chase it. He hasn't had a taste of Saudi. Well, maybe the Saudis want Joshua out there again, So they were up for getting him out of the way and then get Joshua in with a winner. But sometimes, I speak to many journalists and they can't fathom why the fights don't get made, but you're dealing with two massive egos, and usually when the money gets agreed or the split gets agreed first, you think, that's it, job done. But they might be arguing over whose name's bigger on the poster, who gets the ring book first, who gets to choose changing rooms, who gets this, and all these stuff is vitally important. To a promoter, they scratch their head, they don't understand. It's like, what does that matter? But it's like, it does. You want every little win before you do that first ring walk. And when you do ring walk, you want to ring walk second. So, by the time you're in there trading blows, you want to feel like the winner. So maybe it came down to something like that. Or maybe Fury didn't fancy the fight.
Well, fortunately, there is a fight that everybody's fancying that's coming right on the cusp here in April. Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Who do you think wins and how?
I think Tank wins. I think Gervonta Davis wins. I think he punches too hard. I think he catches him and he hurts him. I think obviously he's got to contend with Garcia's speed, but it's simple enough to negate speed. You punch with him, puts punches together fantastically. Davis, well, they both do, but Davis got so much more spite on his punches. I think he lands. I think he hurts him. I pick him a winner.
And lastly, an undisputed fight we certainly will get come May 20th. Lomachenko, Haney. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a bit more tough for me to predict, because I never like to go against Lomachenko, and he is getting better and better. Might be the right time for him. I'd probably go Haney in that fight. I think he's a bit too fresh, but I think that'll be a great fight, and for everyone, for the purists, but also for the hardcore fight fans, just for the casual fans who want to see something special. I think we could get that with that fight.
All right, and then by December you'll have the winner of FROCH McGregor.
Yeah,
right. You heard it here first.
Yeah, but them two are going to fight in a cage. I'm going to fight the winner on a bouncy castle.
There you go, bouncy castle. George Groves, Radio Rahim with George Groves.